Hey guys, Malu here, and welcome back to another Raid School video. This is a series where I talk about the base mechanics as well as any tactics that I know about for each encounter. So I don't throw a bunch of info at you at once, I will be splitting the Leviathan raid into different chapters. Each chapter will be laid out the same, where I talk about the base mechanics, then roles and or tactics, then prestige mode and challenge changes, and finally, my preferred loadout for each encounter, as well as suggestions for alternative loadouts. Links to the other chapters will be in the description down below when they become available. Now, let's get started. This one will be covering the Gauntlet. There are a couple different ways to complete this encounter. One is great for normal and prestige mode, while the other is good for challenge mode. But before I talk about the different tactics, I'll cover the mechanics first. When you ride the elevator up, there will be 4 pillars around the room with symbols relative to that side. You'll see Cup, Axe, Dog, and Sun. You will need to split your fire team into 2 teams of 3. These teams will be called Cup Team and Dog Team. Cup Team will take the Cup and Axe pillars, while the Dog Team takes the Dog and Sun pillars. The encounter will start once all 4 plates have been brought to the ground. All it takes to bring a plate down is step on it for a brief sec. You'll know all the pillars are down when you hear this noise. In fact, you'll hear this sound whenever something is coming. When the encounter starts, there will be 5 sets of enemies coming to each pillar location. One set is 2 legionaries and a scion. After some time, you'll hear the sound again, and each pillar location will get a centurion, the one with red shields. Kill them fast because the next bit needs to be done relatively quick. After you hear the next sound, you'll need to do your role really well. For simplicity, I'll just talk in the sense of one team, but remember, there are 2. You need 1 runner and 2 shooters per team. The runner needs to go to Cup or Dog plate, respectively, and grab the orb underneath the arrows. The runner's job is pretty simple. Once you grab the orb, you'll be teleported onto the track. Once both runners grab their orb, the cage will drop after a few seconds. Then, the real race begins. You'll need to run with the shield on your right hand side, and as you're running, you'll come to a Connect 4 board. And as long as the plate person is doing their job, you'll see a red ring on the top, middle, or bottom row. The red ring is very important. If the shooters shoot the correct arrows on their side, then a little orb will appear inside that ring. What the ring orb does is it resets the timer that you have to run. You can miss 1 orb and be perfectly fine. However, you can't miss 2 in a row. All you need to do to get it is communicate where the red ring is based on elevation to your shooters. Your callouts should be symbol then location, not location then symbol. Trust me, it makes a difference. For example, it would be Cup Top or Dog Bottom. You will do this a total of 4 times per run. Once you reach the finish line, you'll be teleported back into the same room with everyone else, and you need to run to the middle where the elevator is and slam it in the fountain. Then rinse and repeat the enemies. Now the shooters. We'll call them plate people. A plate person's job is a little more complicated, yet it is still pretty simple. The plate person should always be on their plate, however, there are a few exceptions. Regardless of the tactic, one shooter will always be shooting the topmost arrow, while the other shooter is shooting the bottommost arrow. What this means is you don't shoot the arrow that the runner calls out. You just don't. So if the runner calls top, for example, then the topmost arrow would be the middle, and the bottom is the bottom. If the runner calls bottom, then the top is the top, and the middle is the bottommost. And if the runner calls middle, then the top is the top, and the bottom is the bottom. The reason for this confusion is because the arrows need to be shot at the same time, so you need to team shoot them with your team shooting buddy. I'll get into that a little more when I get to the tactics later. After the runner passes through the arrows, a counselor will appear underneath them. And on normal, if the counselor doesn't die within 5 seconds, then a projection will appear somewhere in that plate's area. Now earlier I said there is an exception to staying on the plate always, and here's one. You need to make sure that you drop down and kill that counselor as quickly as you can. After you kill your counselor, you need to hop back on your plate as fast as you can and get ready to team shoot your buddy's arrows for the runner. After the arrows change, then you need to look back at the arrows that you first shot. for the other team's runner. Rinse and repeat, shooting the arrows until the runners make it out. Then, rinse and repeat the enemies 2 more times. As the encounter goes on, there will be changes each round. The first round is basic. It's nice. The second round is that parts of the track will fall away and become death pits. The third round is, in addition to the death pits, the pillars will now start teabagging to try and throw off your shots. After 3 rounds, then everybody will need to meet inside the middle elevator room and pick up the 6 orbs when they become available. After all 6 fireteam members are on the track, then the cage will fall. I recommend everybody try and get through the last little race piece. And here's how. There will be, on normal, 4 orbs at each set of rings. So your 2 teams, Cup Team and Dog Team, will need to call out who's getting what orb. So designate one team to get the 1st, 3rd, and 5th, while the other team gets the 2nd and 4th sets of orbs. Just saying the 5th set of orbs are just before the finish line, so group 2 and 4 will need to jump and skip them if they're in front. If they don't, then they just killed 1 or more of the 1 3 5 teammates. Now, onto the different tactics. The only people who need to worry about the tactics are the shooters. However, it is best that everyone knows everything they can. The first tactic I'll call the stationary pillar tactic. This is where your shooters are assigned to a specific plate, and the plate shoots a specific arrow. I really like having the most options with the least amount of moving parts. So I say Cup and Dog plates should shoot the topmost arrow, and Axe and Sun should shoot the bottommost arrow. The reason for this is if there is time, then the other team could help out shooting arrows if needed. So I said earlier there was an exception to always staying on the plate, and here is one of them. Once the arrows at your plate go red, green, or watermelon, then you drop down and get ready to kill your counselor. However, after you melee it, go straight back to your plate, and get ready to shoot the next arrows. All you need to listen for are your team's symbols. They'll be called Dog Sun, or Cup Axe, respectively. The reason you shoot your arrows twice is because the other team's runner will need to go through your rings. Once the runners get off of the track, get ammo, and get ready for the next ads. Next tactic I'll call the running tactic. This tactic is where both shooters run together around the room with their runner. One shooter is designated to hopping on the plate, and the other is designated to killing scions. The plate holder should always shoot the bottommost arrow, and the scion killer should always shoot the topmost arrow. The reason for that is because the plate person can see all the arrows at once, while the scion killer might only be able to see the top 2. For Prestige Mode, there are a few changes in addition to the usual. The usual changes are that enemies hit harder, and they are harder to kill, as well as if you die, you lose your revive token. The first change is when a counselor spawns, a projection will as well, in the same plate area on one of the fires or a pillar. So in the stationary tactic, your shooting buddy will also shoot your projection as you're killing your counselor. In the running tactic, the plate holder should kill the projection. However, if the plate holder isn't on the next plate, then the scion killer should kill the projection. The next change is that when everyone is running at the end, there will be 3 orbs instead of 4 at each set of rings. So callouts are even more crucial now than ever. The last change is that a runner can't run twice, so everyone will need to run. In my opinion, Bungie is saying use the stationary pillar tactic for Prestige Mode. However, with the Challenge Mode, it promotes the rotation tactic. The change for Challenge Mode is that you can't have the same person touch the plates twice after a run. A run is from when the runner grabs the orb to when he slams it. Now that means you need everybody to be a plate person. So I recommend that you go from runner to plate holder to scion killer. But you can jumble it up to be whatever you want, just make sure that someone does not touch the plates twice, or that's challenge failed. My preferred loadout for this encounter is the same between normal and prestige mode. I run Nameless Midnight, Cold Heart, and my trusty Cluster Bomb Rocket, and here's why. I use Nameless to shoot the arrows when I know my buddy's there. I use Cold Heart to shoot 2 arrows at once, as long as I can shoot the middle one, and the Rocket is to hit the split arrows. In order to hit the split, you need to fire the rocket at one, and then swap to your primary and shoot the other. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if this video did help you, give it a thumbs up, and if this video really helped you, or you think it might help a friend, go ahead and share the video, It'll help me as well as you, and it's always better to have more people have the basic knowledge of everything, so everyone's on the same page. The next chapter in this series will be Chapter 4, The Pleasure Gardens, so I hope to see you there. Catch you next time. Peace out.